Today, to put it very simply, I want you to send a message to Daniel Andrews. Now, perhaps he's out of touch with the real world. Perhaps he's too managed by minders and spin. Whatever the reason, the Premier is floundering. So today, a personal plea to the Premier, from you and from me. I don't think you listen to me, but he might listen to you. 96900 693 13 13 32. And respectfully, please, respectfully, but my message to the Premier is this. Premier, we know you're basically committed to zero cases, and we know we can't get there, not at this price, not at this price. I know you think strong and dictatorial leadership is the way out of it. It isn't, not now. Perhaps it was the way once, not now. Premier, you are crushing Victorians. People say you got the big white car and the full salary, so you don't get it. I think you do get it, but you're committed to a path which isn't realistic anymore. Premier, you are crushing Victorians. Your health minister certainly doesn't get it. He says all but a few weddings and parties are the problem. He's personally demeaned the suffering of every Victorian as Martin Foley. What is happening here is dangerous. It is destructive. It's devastating for kids and families and businesses. Please, please, Premier, it is time to ease some restrictions. Safely, it has to be safe, it has to be targeted, it has to be careful. For the sake of the sanity and survival of the real people of Victoria, it has to be done. Now, I'm not talking for a moment about reopening and letting the virus run. I don't mean that. I'm talking about careful, well-designed, well-considered, well-managed steps, but urgently. Please, please, Premier, at least consider what can be done. Have a look at the ideas. Stop the haranguing from the pulpit and show us you actually understand and will react. 96900 693 13 13 32. I would like to present you with pleas from average Victorians. What they're going through. What they think can be eased safely, what they are willing to do to ease safely. Things like schools. Targeted easing restrictions on schools. Premier, kids are dying out there. They're dying. The suicide figures are tragic. I'll talk to Pat McGorry about that later. There's a cluster at Geelong. 4 children at one school. 4 kids. Now, I'm not going to name the school or the children. I'm advised by psychologists that could cause copycat suicides. More than 350 teenagers a week being admitted to hospital. That's 57% more than last year. Kids are dying and kids are suffering, so please, 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 Premier, open the schools carefully and safely, just a little bit, perhaps for the VCE kids, perhaps just a few hours, a couple of days a week. Improve the ventilation in their classrooms. I mean, we even started work on that. The experts all tell me ventilation is as crucial as vaccination. You've got recommendations in front of you, Premier, from the Murdoch Institute. They've been there for weeks. They've got ideas on how to reopen schools safely, just a little bit. Has anybody even read their report, Premier? The kids, make them wear masks if you like. Cut the class sizes. Give them a couple of hours every couple of days a week. Look, I would love to give them some life. I'd love to hear from any students listening, particularly year 10, 11, 12. You should be involved in this. You know the problems. You'll have the ideas. But there is a starting point, Premier. Carefully, safely, open some schools just a little bit. 96900 693 13 13 32. Please explain to the Premier what it is like in the real world and what you think can be eased safely. Other easing ideas, Premier, from me. The curfew. Is it really achieving anything? You know, it would feel so much better if we could leave the house at night, even if we didn't leave the house at night. Playgrounds. What happened with that likely transmission in playgrounds that you mentioned? We've never heard anything else about it. Did it happen or not? Is there really good reason to close the playgrounds now? Reopen them if you can. Carefully controlled. Cafes. The centre of the world, cafes in Victoria. Perhaps strict requirements, even if they can only serve coffee outside. Grandparents. Goodness me, do they really have to be banned from helping care for the kids? I reckon grandparents are probably the best mental health workers in the world. The grand final holiday. Call it off. Dump it. If we are out of lockdown, let places open without the penalty rates. Let us get out. Let the people make a quid. School holidays. Cancel them. Get the kids back in some sort of restricted form. I mean, why not? Maybe the teachers won't like it, but perhaps it could help re-engage the kids. It could save lives. I want your ideas and the message to the Premier. 96900 693 13 13 32. What could be used safely? What would make a huge difference in giving Victorians hope? Because that's the word forgotten here by the government. Do you know Melbourne is 186 years old today? 186 years old since the Enterprise sailed into Port Phillip Bay. Happy birthday, Melbourne. I doubt we've ever faced such a crisis in our history in 186 years, but the way out of it now is controlled easing, mass vaccination and hope. Hope. Premier, Victoria needs hope. Please.